All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here, Mark P Markets. Thank you for joining me for another Bitcoin video analysis session. This is an hour after I normally stream. I normally stream at 3 or 3:05 Eastern time, PM Eastern time. Today, I'm starting here at just after 4 o'clock Eastern time. Again, this is just for today because I had a conflicting schedule. So I apologize for the inconvenience. So again, next week, I'll be back on my normal schedule at 3 p.m. Eastern time or 3:05 p.m. Okay, great. So again, thank you all for joining me today. If you're new to the stream, welcome. Let me explain to you very briefly how this works. So first, I'm going to go through the economic calendar, right? So you can see if there are any important events to be aware of this week. Second, we're going to talk about today's topic, which is how to navigate this consolidation, which can be very tough for some people. So we're going to go over some details on that. And it'll also be an extension of my TradingView article that I wrote yesterday. So you can, have an idea of what I'm going to talk about by looking at that article. Third, we're going to go into the Trade Scanner Pro, and we're going to see if we can find any signals worth talking about. Now, again, we're getting into like 5 o'clock Eastern time, which I don't expect much out of Bitcoin, but we'll see what we can do. And I'll try working on a smaller time frame, and I'll explain all that when we get there. Okay. So that's how we're going to go. If you want to share what city or what country you're from, that's always a fun fact. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as Northern New Jersey. Okay, cool. So again, let me get this started. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. All right, cool. Now, so first things first, let me just tell we got Savi. Hey, Savi from Brooklyn. How you doing? We got Steen. All right. Hey, Steen, good to see you. Lad, all right. Good to see my regulars. Dom, all right. Good to see you guys. Cool. Now, let's first get into that. Actually, before I get into the economic calendar, let me just go over one thing real quick. It's important. Make sure if you like the video to press the like button, press the subscribe button. Also, please feel free to leave a comment because I do need to start to boost my content with the algorithm on YouTube or whatever, and that's all helpful. Also, make sure to check the links in the description. If you want to try the Trade Scanner Pro out for free, you have a 14-day trial period. There's a link in the description. Second, if you would like to join our Discord community, there's a link there as well. We have a free channel, and we have a lot of very interesting updates that Steen has made very recently to our Trade Scanner bot. And you can also sign up for the Trade of the Week. We're actually going to have to change. I was thinking, Steen, we're going to have to change that name to probably Trade of the Day because we're going to share one free signal per day. Now, thanks to Steen's hard work, we're able to dramatically improve the Trade Scanner bot. Now, the Trade Scanner bot is the same as the script, except the bot is for people that don't want to be hands-on. The script is for people that are much more active and who like to use smaller time frames, for example. The bot focuses on larger time frames. But here's the thing. The bot has all these improvements now. Like, for example, previously, we only had the top 10 capitalized coins, right, that the bot would look at. Now, we have the top 50 most popular coins. So we were able to extend the scope of what the bot looks at. We've also now have 2 new categories, index products like, the S&P and NASDAQ and all them. We also have things like gold and oil and silver and things like that. So there's going to be a lot more there. Another thing that we are going to be able to do is also offer signals on other time frames, not just one time frame. But again, this is for more hands-off traders, swing traders, people that are interested in the bigger picture, who would rather just receive a signal and not be messing around with the charts. Now, another cool thing, just wanted to mention this, is he's able to include an actual picture of the chart at the time of the signal. That's huge because you can see what is going on when the signal is called rather than just a bunch of numbers, right? So very cool. Thank you, Steen, for all that hard work. People, thanks, Steen, because that's a huge update that, it's hard. I know it may be hard to appreciate for some people, especially if you're like a new member or a new viewer and you don't subscribe to any of this stuff. So I mention this now because you can subscribe to the Trade of the Week, or I guess Trade of the Day, in the link in the description. I have to update that. You may have a hard time. If you sign up for that now, you may get rejected. So I have to fix that also. Anyway, just wanted to mention it. So keep an eye on that. Also, if you'd like to try Bybit or MEXC exchanges in your non-US, consider the affiliate links that we have in the description. That helps Stian support the community because he gets a small cut of your trade activity when you fund an account and place trades. I just wanted to mention that. Also, if you want to sign up for a premium version of TradingView, there's a link for that as well. That is an affiliate link. Stian gets a cut of that also. And if you're not interested in those products, but you're interested in just offering some support out of appreciation or whatever, there are 2 links, wallet addresses in the description where you can tip. One is for Polygon, one is for Ethereum, and that goes to Stian as well. Okay, again, he's been doing a lot of great work, a lot of hard work, and the improvement is dramatic, especially on that bot. Okay, so very cool, and we'll be putting on new. We will extend those features further. Okay, so anyway, hey Alex, good to see you. So yeah, all right. So let's get into today's thing, right? We'll talk about the economic calendar because we'll touch on this volume situation, which you guys know I've been talking about the entire year, right? Here we are, week number 3, August. So anyway, first thing, this week, right, we're in week 3. The only things that I saw that were worth mentioning on the economic calendar is we have the FOMC meeting minutes on Wednesday. That usually comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. It's either 2 or 2:30. Double check that. But that's not usually a major number. But if there's any surprises, especially intraday, you could see a hiccup in the price action, right? So please keep that in mind. That's particularly important for people who day trade. Second, we have what on Thursday? Anyone want to chime in real quick? Hey, James, good to see you. All right, I got a small crowd here. This is like probably an inconvenient time for a lot of people. I notice all my competitors, they either stream at like 8 a.m. or they stream at like 7 p.m. or that kind of thing. But anything you guys want to mention this week? What's on the calendar? Anything special? I'll give you a second to see if anyone answers. Okay. This is important. That's why I chime on this stuff. Anyone want to mention anything? I'll give you a few more seconds and then I'll just tell you. You can also say, I don't know. But it's important to be aware of these things. Now, like I said, over the year, I've been often bringing up weeks 3 and 4 of August, especially when we start the summer, because volume basically declines up until, here we are, the bottom, weeks 3, weeks 4. So basically next week it'll be worse. Okay, I don't see any answers here. We have Jackson Hole Symposium on Thursday. I've talked about Jackson Hole before. Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's a city in Wyoming where central bankers go to a ski resort of some kind to party, I guess you can say, and talk about central bank things. You can imagine how exciting that must be. But this is their excuse to get away from their wives, have some drinks, and maybe who knows what they do. Who knows how central bankers party? But I'm sure with all the money that they've got, I'm sure it's interesting. Anyway, that takes place on Thursday and Friday, the Jackson Hole Symposium. Again, it's a ski resort. Maybe they're going to do some skiing there in the middle of the summer. I don't know. They probably wouldn't invite me or welcome me there anyway, because I'm not a central banker. But Chairman Powell speaks on Friday. He has a speech. I believe it was Friday, I saw on the calendar. And I'm not sure what time he speaks. He's speaking from the symposium because obviously he's going to be there partying with the other central bankers. So please keep that in mind. If there are any surprises in his speech, it can throw a wrench in the market, right? Now, with all that being said, weeks 3 and 4, we're at the bottom of active volume. So what does that mean exactly? It's not necessarily a bearish thing. Low volume, 10 a.m. EST. Thanks, Dom. So I guess that's when Chairman Powell is speaking. Is that what you're referring to? So as far as volume, low volume or lack of participation typically unfolds in ways that you may not expect. All right? It could be like slow grind. Have you seen the NASDAQ today? Slow grind, new highs all day, slow grind, right? Very hard to trade a slow grind because you don't know at any moment there could be a dramatic pullback and, but it never pulls back, right? Usually people get caught shorting this because they're like, oh, it's weak. And it just never pulls back. That's a effect. That's an effect of low volume. You can have a slow grind higher. You can have a slow grind lower. You can have erratic price action. You can have a dramatic price spike out of nowhere. And then after that, slow grind, right? So price action usually is very erratic. It's very random. It's very slow. Don't have opinions in this environment. You can get into trouble very easily. Thank you, Dom. You can get into trouble very easily. So what I tell people this week and next week, if you're going to take time off, this is the best time to stay away from the market. Take time off, or you want a paper trade or something, right? Minimize your trades, be extremely selective, or just don't trade at all. That's a good thing to do, right? Just paper trade, because you know what? Your results these next 2 weeks don't really matter because the markets are random. Even if you think you see a trend and blah, 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 and some moron is telling you that Bitcoin's going to 80K again, just don't get caught up in that nonsense. It's a slow grind, okay? So if you want for best results, especially if you're a beginner, stay out of the market, paper trade. That's the best advice I can give you. I remember back in the day, 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, when I was in the office where I would day trade, right, for the company that I was at, all the big guys around this time would not show up because, again, they could do that, and they would just not show up. I'm like, man, why would this guy not show up? He's going to miss out on all this money. There was no money, right? So this is a seasonal thing. It occurs every year. It may not occur exactly the same way every year, but the seasonality or the tendency of the type of behavior repeats itself every year. Just like, each year we're in a yearly economic cycle. There's certain things that happen each time of the year as a cycle, right? It's the same kind of thing. So volume is seasonal, and we're at the bottom of it. Volume does not return back to normal until October. So it's not like, okay, we're out of August, back to normal. No, it starts to increase. And by the first or second week of October, we have more of a normal volume environment again, where trends tend to follow through. Price action tends to be more dramatic. Ranges tend to be larger. Trends are more reliable. Levels are more reliable. All those things, okay? Less slow grinds. Okay, so you guys get the idea. Okay, no problem, Alex. UTXO, the robot, says Powell is going to speak at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is, oh, okay, thanks. Thanks for clarifying on that, UTXO, because, right, we're in daylight time, which, so that's meaningful, especially for people that are in other parts of the world. You want to make sure you get that right, so that you're looking at the right time, because it could vary by like an hour or two. It depends on where you are in the world. All right. Anyway, cool. All right. So that's enough for that. You guys get the idea of the economic calendar, right? You understand the volume. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Let's move on now, and let's make my chart bigger, shall we? Because you don't need to see my big head anymore. Now, let's talk about this chart, and let's talk about what today's topic is, and that is how to navigate the consolidation. Now, when I say consolidation, you have to be very careful, right? And I show Bitcoin all the time, and we analyze Bitcoin, but what I explain here can be utilized on any market. So there's a lot of learning material here, all right? So pay attention. This is a range since the March peak. This is clearly a consolidation. There's no argument there. I called it back then when I said the party was over, and I was anticipating some sort of range-bound type of environment, and I kept comparing it to gold, right? And we saw how gold basically was in a range for a number of years before it broke out. Now, this is doing a very similar thing, right? This is a range. The range low is here, which is now 49K. It recently established that range low. The range high is basically 73K. Any price action inside those two levels is range-bound price action, which means that it's highly random most of the time. So you know who gets beat up in this situation like this? People that follow trends and people who think that the market always trends, people who follow fake gurus, people who have opinions. That's who get beat up in this. You know why? Because they buy at the worst prices, the range highs, thinking, oh, we break out this time. I'm going to make millions, right? They buy at the range highs and they bang out at the lows, or they get margined out at the lows. When you recognize the range, and we could have identified this range here, right? And here we had a range high and a range low at those 2 points, right? This point, this second arrow here was the lowest point. At that point, you can say we are in some type of consolidation, right? At this point, way back here, you could have said that. Now, going forward, I mean, look at the price action. It pretty much stays inside of that range. We had some attempted breaks, but those break attempts are buying opportunities when you have a pretty solid range. And we're talking on the daily chart here. A daily chart range is a pretty heavy duty range, right? So when you're in a range like this, you want to pay attention to the high probability locations. And this all has to do with support and resistance. This is your high probability long area. Now, this changed a bit when we touched this 49K, but the general area, if you were looking for longs, generally in this area, you were on the right side. In fact, when I had conducted my streams, when we were here, right, and we were fooling around here, I told people during those times, I mean, you can look back, I don't delete the videos, you can go back and look at the streams. These were potential investment opportunities, which is bigger picture, because we don't get these opportunities very often, especially this one. I mentioned this one specifically a few weeks ago when we were in that area, and some people bought into that. Nice job. All right. So my point is, those are the extreme range levels, right? Extreme high, extreme low. In fact, we have never made the extreme high. We never went back above 73K. We have some lower highs, right? So we never even pushed the range high. But if we were to push the range high using this rationale, like an area like this would be an area to be looking for shorts, or at least take money off the table. Now, generally, Bitcoin is in a bullish trend, generally on the big picture when we zoom out. So that's also important. You know how I always remind you guys? The two most important components, trend and support and resistance levels. If the trend is bullish, and eventually we break the high of the range, which is the more likely scenario over time, there's a greater chance that we continue, right? The breakout continues. Why? Because the general trend is bullish. But there's still a good chance that it fails up here, and you have to watch for that. Now, can we forecast which outcome is going to happen? No, we can't. A lot of frauds will tell you that they can, but no, we cannot, because markets are random. So what we can do is we could say, all right, I know my levels, right? These are, I'm talking the extreme levels. We haven't even gotten into the inner levels yet. The extreme levels, you know that there's a good probability of longs in this area. You should know that. So if we test it again and we hold it, then you should be comfortable with long ideas, okay? But if we happen to test this range high up in this area, you should be prepared for confirmations on the short side. Or so how could you use that? Well, if you're aggressive, for example, and you're on smaller time frames, there may be brief shorting opportunities. I say brief because there's a greater chance we break out and continue, right? When you do the comparison. But it can also be used as a place to take profits. If you see a sell signal in an area where a sell signal is more likely, right? Which is the 70 to 73K area. All right, so that's a general idea. We're not in any of those situations right now. So I just want you to take notes on that so you understand, like, that's what you should be thinking. Let's talk about the inner levels, because this is where people get really confused. So when I talk about the inner levels, you notice on my chart here, I have all like these lines all over the place, right? All these lines, these horizontal lines. Those are inner levels, and they're based on previous price action. Like I wrote in my article, there's a basic tenet of technical analysis which says history repeats itself. That's part of technical analysis. But again, a lot of people, they misunderstand that, and they think, because 2 years ago there was a special kind of trend, whatever, right? And then here we are 2 years after, and we're going to see that special kind of trend or shape again. No, it doesn't work like that. History repeats itself refers to behavior. So, for example, someone bought over here, right? People were buying in general there, and people bought again. Not exactly in the same area, but in the general area, as you can see. People bought again over here. That's history repeating itself. So if people bought previously in the area, we should be looking for the behavior to repeat. It doesn't mean that it will. What we want to see, again, is confirmation. Confirmation can come in a few ways. Candlesticks, pin bar, inside bar, these type of little, like when you get these type of bearish candles, high or low situation, right? Those are all confirmations. But to keep it real simple, you can have a tool like the Trade Scanner Pro, which will just give you a clear-cut signal. A signal is a form of confirmation because it waits for certain criteria to line up. And if you were anticipating that to begin with in this area, for example, and you get your signal, you have your confirmation. Plus, the Trade Scanner Pro defines your risk clearly and profit objective clearly. So it takes a lot of guessing, a lot of guesswork off the table if you use it correctly. The Trade Scanner Pro is not a forecasting tool. It's a confirmation tool. All right. So anyway, let's talk about, so you get the idea, right? So we're looking for levels. Now I talked about in my article, play the support or resistance level, the support and resistance, or don't play at all, because anything outside of these levels is going to be highly random, right? So support and resistance levels are going to be relevant to the time frame, to the time frame of your strategy. Like what if you're on a 1 minute chart? Your support and resistance levels are not going to be, the larger time frames here will be relevant, but you may not be at them very often on a 1 minute. So for example, this little price action right here on this daily chart in these candles, it's gonna have a 1 minute chart is going to have its own support and resistance levels relative to this right here, right? But if for whatever reason price decides to retest 56K, well, your 1 minute may line up with that as well at that time. But right now, your 1 minute has other levels, more minor levels that carry less weight. Does that part make sense? So when you're dealing with support and resistance levels, context is very important. You have to start with the larger time frame to be aware of what's going on around you. Okay, now these lines right here represent the scenario that I anticipate. It's the illustrated scenario that I give each week. If you look at my previous weeks, I'm pretty close on how the market's been behaving. And you say, well, how do I come up with that? Do I have some kind of magic formula? No, I'm looking at support and resistance levels. That's where my illustrations come from, right? And I consider the broader trend in that calculation as well. Now, so that brings me to where we are right here. This is where I don't want you to be confused. When I say play the levels. So let me ask you guys a quick question. If we retest 56K for whatever reason, if we retest that, what should we be thinking? Let's see if you guys are paying attention. Who wants to answer that? Anyone can answer this question. And you can also say, I don't know. If we retest this level in the next few days, what should we be thinking? Should we be thinking about longs? Should we be thinking about shorts? Should we just do nothing? What do you guys think? Lad says long. Sam says long. Hey, Sam. Sam, by the way, your suggestion about, I saw the comment that you left on my previous stream about the Trade Scanner bot should give out a signal every day. See, we listen because now we're going to implement that. Also, Savi over here had a great idea. suggestion for the Trade Scanner Pro. I sent it to Stian. Stian implemented that idea the same day and updated the script. By the way, there's been a number of script updates. I forgot to mention that. We'll talk about that soon. So my point is, when you guys have feedback, we don't just be like, yeah, whatever. We take it seriously and we implement it, right? So now the script, thanks to Savi and thanks to Sam over here, because I got some feedback from them, we made some changes. Because again, our goal is to make a product and have an experience that you benefit from, right? I want you to win. I want you to build confidence in this game. Otherwise, you have no chance. So your feedback is really important. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Okay. So, yeah. So anyway, I appreciate you guys' feedback. And again, when you guys do have feedback, in fact, Stian set up a channel in the server for suggestions and things like that. There's also a help channel for the Trade Scanner Pro if you need help. Like, here's another thing Stian updated, which I think he even made TradingView make a change. Before, when we updated the script, we had to instruct people to remove the script from your chart and put it back on. Well, Stian told me that you no longer have to do that. There's some kind of blue button that shows up or something, and you can automatically update the script by pressing a button. There's more information about that, I think, in the channel. But he reached out to TradingView and said, you know, what's up with this? Why do we have to remove the script and put it back on to update? That's kind of cumbersome, don't you think, for a platform that's so advanced? So anyway, so great stuff. I just wanted to mention that. You're not going to find that type of feedback loop anywhere else. Like, you give us a suggestion, we get it done the same day, and then we update. Like, that you're not going to find that anywhere. Just have to mention it. So you guys should be tipping Stian. Anyway, all right, back to the chart here. So what I'm saying is, you guys said long at 56K. Correct. We should be thinking long. Now, there's an important point here, right? A trade idea begins with some sort of context. You have to anticipate a trade idea. It's not something you react to. This is very important. So the level here, you know, 56K. Okay, you just said long. You're anticipating something. Now, it doesn't mean you step in front. It means now you're waiting for the market to confirm. The market is the one that speaks. The market is always right. That's very important. A lot of people make the mistake. They say, well, I think long at 56K. I'm just going to buy it. And that one time it may break. If there's no confirmation, you step aside, right? So I'm glad none of you guys said short, because short would be, I mean, it can happen, but it's a low probability, right? Now, if that level happens to break, you have another level here in this area, the 56. What is that? What is this level? Is that the 53K? I think that's the 53K area. Yeah, 53K area, right? So that's another area. But keep in mind, support and resistance levels are not precise. So this entire zone can give you confirmations. So again, you say, well, what time frame should I use? That's going to depend on the amount of risk that you're comfortable taking. A 4-hour chart, for example, like, you can use a 4-hour chart, but the risk may be 2,000 points on a 4-hour chart. How do you know that? Because the Trade Scanner Pro defines it for you and tells you the risk is 2,000 points. Like, that's too much. I don't want to risk 2,000 points. Okay, then go to a smaller time frame. Go to a 15-minute. Oh, on the 15-minute, the risk is 750 points. Okay, that's still kind of a lot, but that's more of the risk you want to take. Your reward will also be limited by that time frame. That's very important, right? And that's one of the problems that I hope that the Trade Scanner Pro solves for people. Anyway, so the point is, you have your levels in advance and you know what you should be thinking in advance. So your support and resistance is going to be relevant to the time frame, to the time frame of the strategy that you're utilizing. So let's zoom in a little further now. So if you're working on smaller time frames, there are smaller levels that you can consider. So we talked about this low here, which is the 56K low, but look, there's a level over here too, okay? Based on this, these are daily candles. So that's a meaningful level right there, but that's going to be meaningful on your smaller time frames. Look at all these tails up in this area right here. Notice all these little candlestick tails? Clearly, there's selling activity. There's some more up here too. That's selling activity on a daily time frame. That carries weight, not on the daily time frame, but on your smaller time frame. Does that make sense? So again, you want to be able to identify the support and resistance levels for the strategy, the time frame strategy that you're working in. So let's go to a smaller time frame. Right? We'll go to a 4-hour. So this is the 4-hour time frame. Okay? And again, we can see those levels a little clearer now, right? I pointed out this level here before, right? That was from the daily, that area right there. We can also see the price action up in these areas where you're getting these tails, right? Look at these tails over here. So I see more, tighter levels. Like, so this right here, if I'm working intraday, those are my levels. Intraday. So if I'm working on a 15-minute, these levels, I should be paying attention to these levels. And this is going to be very important for how I use a Trade Scanner Pro. So like I was saying, in a consolidating type of environment, you want to be aware of the levels for the time frame that you're working on. So all of these daily levels, sure, you should have them on your chart. They don't change very often. But your small time frame levels will change. They will change a lot. So in this general area, look, we can see that we have a level here, right? And this is going to be your bigger picture, right? That's the 56K on the bigger picture. We have a level here, all right? Which again, I want to point something out. These levels can be projected forward. That's why I use horizontal lines. So let me go to this replay, right? So let's say at the time, this is all we have. At the time, this is all we have. You project these forward, okay? You project them forward and you see how price reacts to them. Look at this. This looked pretty nasty there for a moment, right? But then it generally found some support, okay? So it gives you a point of reference for your intraday price action. Again, looked ugly. You're like, oh, bearish trend. It wasn't a bearish trend. It found support again. Notice, right? Support. Okay, so you want to pay attention to that when you're on smaller time frames. And this is what's going to bring us now to the Trade Scanner Pro. Notice the resistance, right? Look at the resistance. We got the tail. Started here with the tail. Got another tail here. Doji type of candle. Pin bar followed by doji eventually. There were some bullish candles in between, but notice this level wasn't taken out. Also, the level is relevant to other candles back here. Notice a lot of times you will find stuff like that. Okay, so those levels could be projected forward. Now, does it guarantee that you're going to get these reactions? Look, we're looking after the fact, so it looks nice and easy, right? But it's not easy when you can't see what's ahead of you. So the point is, right? The point is you want to look for confirmations in these areas on smaller time frames if that's what you're working on. So when you have a 4-hour pin bar like this, for example, and price retests the pin bar high, that's a great place for like a 5-minute chart or a 15-minute chart to look for a reversal. Now, let me point something out here. If you notice, this price action going into that area is bullish. These are 8 hours of bullish price action, which means a 5-minute chart or a 1-minute chart most likely has a bullish trend on it. So in order to capture this move, to be prepared for that move, to get the short signal, what do you have to do for Trade Scanner Pro? Most of you guys who use it should know this. By the way, these streams that I do, these are training sessions for the Trade Scanner Pro each week. So it's like a free training session. So for those of you who have it, take advantage of this. Come to the stream, like I see many of you here, ask questions about the Trade Scanner Pro because I'm here to answer those questions. I want you to have a good experience with it. I want you to get the most out of it, and I want you to succeed with it. So this is your chance. I do this every week. Ask questions. I haven't even gotten to the Trade Scanner Pro yet, but we're getting there, right? Counter trend. Stian said it. Yes. So you would switch to your counter trend mode. Now, if you don't have Trade Scanner Pro, you have to then just be watching for a bearish reversal type candle, at least a red candle, at least something, and the low needs to be taken out, okay, before you get involved. But that's the kind of confirmation you look for. The Trade Scanner Pro will probably give you earlier signals, especially if you're looking at smaller time frames. But if you don't have something like that, then that's the best way to do it, okay? But that can be confusing at times. Anyway, so that's the deal with support and resistance, and why you have to depend on that in an environment that is completely random. Like this right now, people may say, "Oh, it's bullish. This thing's going to 100K by next week. I can feel it." Right? They may be reacting that way right now. This is nothing. Maybe it's bullish, maybe it's not. The momentum is bullish right now on a small time frame. Like I said in my article, since we bounced off at 56K, looking for continuation patterns up to 62 to 64K would make sense when you have something like the Trade Scanner Pro, which can give you precise signals, such signals, instead of guessing, oh, I think it's going higher or not. But right now, let's zoom in even further. Like, what do we have right here? We have this bullish momentum. We know where our general levels are. How do I trade this? I mean, we're basically in the middle of this range. We have a range going on here. It's a tough area for trades. Can I find levels that are close by? I mean, on this, I may have to go to a smaller time frame. Let's go to a 30-minute time frame. Okay, these are 30-minute candles. What can I see here? I see an old support back here, old support, which is now potentially a new resistance. But here's the thing, it's potentially a new resistance. We had some tails on these candles, but this is no tail on this one. This is a pretty solid candle, and it closes in 15 minutes. That's pretty strong, right? So even though, so it looks like we're going to blow through that resistance. Also, this is a higher low right here. So that should tell us, yes, we're at a resistance. I don't see any bearish confirmation at this time. I should be very careful going short if I'm thinking day trade short, because I'm trying to come up with a trade idea here, right? That's what we're using support and resistance for. And that's the whole point of trying to navigate the consolidation. We don't have any opinions. We're just trying to come up with a premise based on the levels, because the trend, big picture trend is bullish. Middle picture trend, or the midterm trend is range bound, but we're like in the middle of the range. So now we're going to have to work with smaller levels. My point is, we cannot have opinions about, oh, Bitcoin's going to go here, Bitcoin's going to go there. I know it is. No, it can go wherever it wants for whatever reason. The market is always right. It doesn't matter what's going on in the news. I know most of you probably don't consume the news because I told you over and over not to. I hope if anyone new is watching, you're not caught up in the news nonsense. It's complete nonsense. I cannot tell you enough how much nonsense it is and how much it can throw you off. You win only randomly when you play that game. Anyway, so we have a resistance, but we don't have any type of confirmation. We should be seeing what? We should be seeing at least a tail or something, at least a pin bar. There's nothing. So if I'm going to trade this, especially on a small time frame, I should be thinking long right now, because the resistance is being compromised here. Does that part make sense? If we were not compromising this resistance, right? Let's pick the next level. So this level may be compromised. Let's find the next level. It's around here somewhere, right? Now I would say if we go here and we get a bearish candle, right? We should be thinking short. At least if we're looking at day trade, kind of like this situation right here. See this over here? It touched it. And then there was a nice bearish opportunity there, brief bearish opportunity, okay? But it started with a red candle, and it took out the previous candle low, at minimum, right? So I would be saying we should be anticipating that here. I'm not saying we anticipate it here because we should be seeing that right now. Now, maybe the next candle we get the bearish candle. Okay, then we have to switch our thinking back to bearish. Does that part make sense? That's very important. Okay, so do you see where I'm going with the support and resistance levels? So you have to decide what time frame you're going to trade on. If you're a day trader, it's going to be smaller time frames. If you're a swing trader, it's going to be larger time frames. You're going to pick levels relative to those time frames, and then you're going to wait for price to test one of those levels, and then you're going to wait for confirmation. But before price gets there, you should have an idea of what to anticipate. Like, again, this could be a short, but we have no confirmation. And we have a higher low here. So chances are it's going to make the higher high. Okay. That higher low is telling. And when we touch resistance, it should reject quickly. There's no rejection. So that's why I suspect we're going to make the higher high. If I'm going to go to the Trade Scanner Pro, I should be looking for momentum continuation patterns, unless I get the next candle is red. Then I change my mind, right? You have to be flexible. You have to be able to change because the market is always right. We are not. If it gets up here, we should be thinking potential reversal again for short, unless the market proves otherwise. Does that make sense? Okay. Let me know if you guys have questions about that. Now, here's what I want to do. I know I'm kind of limited on time here, but I want to jump over to the Trade Scanner Pro. And before I do that, let me just refresh this chart here. Let me refresh that. Okay, we have a signal on there. We'll get to all that in a moment. But first, what I want to do is I want to explain to you guys, for those who that may be new, how the Trade Scanner Pro works. Okay, so first, you have to understand what it is. Like I said before, it's a confirmation tool. The way the Trade Scanner Pro works is it's based on a trend following momentum reversal system. And it's criteria that I've developed and used over the years to take certain types of trades. So trend following momentum reversal system means first it identifies a trend. As you can see, the trade scanner here defines a trend as bullish on this time frame. So it's going to define the trend relative to your time frame. Let's say the trend is bullish. Then it looks for a pullback, not the first pullback. It looks for a pullback in that trend. Once it identifies a pullback, it looks for a change in momentum or a momentum reversal. And it's anticipating, the idea is that if you have a momentum reversal and your trend is bullish, for example, then that should be a higher low and it should lead to a higher high. Once the momentum is confirmed, it sends out a confirmation, also known as a signal or trade suggestion. And what it does is it gives you orders. It gives you a stop loss, it gives you an entry price, and it gives you a take profit. Okay, as you saw on over here, but it vanished. This is typically what the signal will look like. These are order suggestions, and the stop loss and take profit are typically set at a 1.5 to 1 time reward risk ratio, which means whatever it defines as the risk, it's going to put its take profit 1.5 times that. You could change that number, but the point is, the reason why it does that is because that puts you in a situation where when you win more than when you typically lose. So that's important. On top of that, it has a trailing stop feature, which aims to constantly work to reduce the risk that you take. All right. So we'll turn the Trade Scanner Pro on here. As you can see, right, look at this. Now, the trend is bullish, but that may have just changed. This is a bearish trade. If you notice here, when I look at my settings, they're all off. When you get the Trade Scanner Pro, the settings are off like this. So you want to turn the trailing stop on. You want to turn the previous trades on and the heads up. Okay, but I'm going to leave counter trend off. Okay, now this is a 30-minute 1-to-3 ratio. How would you enter that? Good question, Sam. I'll show you that in a minute. But notice something. The trend is bullish on this time frame, but it's giving us a bearish trade. What happened here was the trend changed, okay? And this bearish trade never closed, but the trend changed while the trade was open, okay? So by recognizing that right there, you should probably get out of this trade. But you could see the entry, the profit objective, and the stop loss. The risk on this time frame, which the Trade Scanner defined for you, is 647 points on the 30-minute chart. That's your risk. It told you. You don't have to guess where to place the stop. Okay, notice these columns, right? This red, these green, that's the heads up. That gives you a heads up, a warning that a trade signal is likely to appear soon in the next 3 to 5 candles. It doesn't guarantee that one will appear, right? That a signal will appear, but it's a heads up, which you could set notifications to. And you can get the notification like on your phone or whatever, email, that a heads up, and then you know at least to start watching more carefully because you shouldn't be glued to your charts all day. All right, so anyway, now we talked about in my previous analysis here, we just talked about how we were breaking this resistance. I don't want to be confused by the Trade Scanner Pro on my 30-minute, right? So I turn it off. I'm using the 30-minute for context so I can trade a 1-minute. All right, in fact, I'll change this over to BTC Perp so they match. Bitcoin perp. That's the perpetual futures contract. And that's the one, we're going to use the one from MEXC. Am I on there? Oh, it's because it says stocks. Okay, there we go. So here, MEXC, right? So now it's the same chart. It doesn't matter which chart you use, but it's the same chart. We'll just do it for simplicity purposes. Now, like I said, we were pushing this resistance. Now, look, we're getting a tail on here. So maybe this is a short if this thing turns red. But right now, I'm going to play with the idea that we're working with the bullish momentum, right? Because we should have rejected this, and we should not have a higher low here. We should not if this thing was weak. So with that context, I'm going to consider this on the long side, right? The trend here, as you can see on my 1 minute, let's make the 1 minute bigger. The trend here says long, okay? So I gave you my reasoning why I'm going to try to play that side. And the Trade Scanner Pro, let's turn all the features on. Let's see what it says, right? In trend mode. Look at this. It tried calling shorts a few times here. Looks like these two stopped out. This one may have been worth something. Now, Savi suggested, does this thing give the, okay, I don't have the updated version on here. Savi suggested that when you click on these previous trades, it shows you the trade outcome, how much it was worth and all this and all that. That's on the most updated version. Okay, you can't see that here, but if you have the updated version, you can see that, which is really cool. That was Savi's suggestion, which Steen implemented the same day. All right, anyway, so my Trade Scanner Pro right here is not telling me to do anything. All I know is it's looking for longs because we're in bullish mode, but I have no signal. Now, keep in mind, this is a 15-minute chart. I'm sorry. Let's go to a 1 minute because that's what I'm interested in. Okay, nothing on the 1 minute right now. So let's wait a bit and see what happens. Do I have any heads up? I don't have any heads up since over here. Look, I had a heads up over here. I never got a signal afterwards. In very slow markets, that will happen a lot. Like you won't get a signal. And on a 1 minute, which means usually if you want to find signals or try to participate in very slow markets, you have to go to a smaller time frame, less than 1 minute. I don't suggest doing this for beginners, but we're going to go to a 15-second. Look at this. 15-second called a long right here. Oh, nice. For day trades, that's appropriate. Now, to get a 15-second chart, you have to pay for the full version of TradingView. But to run the Trade Scanner Pro, you don't have to have the paid version of TradingView, just so you know. But you get some great benefits, like you could set unlimited notifications and stuff like that. Now, Sam, quick, you had your question. How do you set 3 to 1 or 2 to 1 or whatever? See this over here, Sam? It says reward ratio. In your settings panel, it says 1.5. You see that? You simply change that to 3. And then what it'll do is it'll put your profit objective 3 times what you risk. So that's, if you're going to do that, I mean, that's good when you have a greater expectation and maybe you're working on smaller time frames, like a 1 minute, something like that. Because the more you look for in the market, the lower the probability that it's going to get there. Something to keep in mind. So Savi says, for swing trades, we use 1 day chart for context. Yes. And then work on 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. Yes. You can use a daily. You can also use a 4 hour, right? Because you could swing trade on an hourly chart or a 15-minute, even a 15 or 30-minute chart. So, but usually, like if you're using an hourly or some type of 2 hour, 3 hour, whatever, 4 hour or daily is appropriate for your context. Okay. All right. No problem, Steen. So yeah, the most recent version has that cool feature where you just roll over this thing or you click on it and it gives you all the data for how this trade played out. It gives you the specific numbers. I mean, look, we could measure it. We could just be like, okay, how much was this worth? You know, because this thing was worth at one point 213 points, but we don't know where the script actually exited, right? And the information, when you click on it or whatever, will tell you. It'll tell you that when you have the updated version of the script. We have to just update it on my chart. But if you have this thing, just update it and you'll have it. Okay. Now, you can also set the amount of decimals now. Oh, cool. So see, Steen also made that change to the script. You can set the amount of decimals because, you know, some coins have like 10 decimals. You know how they're ridiculous they get. And some coins only have 2, right? Or some, each instrument may have its own specific format. So you can adjust for that as well. Very nice. Thank you, Steen, for that. So again, see, cool updates. Now, look what's going on here. We got a little pullback. See what time it is. All right, we got a few more minutes. I want to see if I could take a trade on the 1 minute. So now, guys, do you see how I arrived at the idea that I'm looking for? I'm going to look for longs. Now, there is a resistance here, clearly, right? But I'm still going to look for longs because the general structure was bullish. Oh, my trend changed on this time frame. See this? My trend changed on this time frame. I'm on a 1 minute. So we rejected the resistance there a bit. What does this look like on my 30-minute? Maybe I have to adjust. Oh, look at this. Getting a pin bar. Huh. 15 minutes ago, this was a solid green candle. This is why we need to check the context. Remember I said before we may need to change? Okay, I'm not going to be bullish anymore. Not with a bearish pin bar, not like this, right? If we closed solid, I would be bullish. I'd look for the continuation. Do you see that? Do you see how I'm changing the idea now? I'm changing because the market is telling me you need to change. Does that make sense? I don't come up with my idea and say, well, I know better. I have all this experience. I'm an expert. I'm going to stick to my idea. I listen to the market. Do you see? So I was wrong about the breakout. I never took any trade, but I was assuming the candle was going to close strong in the next 15 minutes. The candle is closing weak. Okay. That changes my outlook, right? So now I can say, all right, there was a resistance here, right? We noticed that earlier. And now this thing is reacting the way it should react at a resistance. And you say, well, what about that higher low you were talking about? Okay, yeah, the higher low is still there. We barely got the higher high, and it's turning into a pin bar. So this is a fake out. This higher low is likely to break now, okay? That's likely to break. Do you see how I made that adjustment? Before I was talking about bullish breakout. And now this thing turned to garbage, right? Okay, no problem. So I adjust my expectations. This trend here is now bearish. So I really don't have to do anything on my 1 minute chart. All I have to do is wait for a bearish signal. Now, I'm sorry, this is not a 1 minute. I'm on a 15-second chart. So this is very likely, when I'm on a small time frame like this is very likely to give me a signal pretty soon. We never got a bearish one up here. You know why? Because at the time the trend was bullish. Right? If I switch to counter trend mode, we'll probably see that now after the fact. Let's see. What a surprise. Counter trend mode. See that? We could have, if we were thinking counter trend mode to begin with, if we were going to work with the resistance, that was our confirmation. See that? Notice here, counter trend mode, it's looking for bullish trades. But should I be in counter trend mode long up here? What do you guys think? Should I be in counter trend mode long? What do you guys think? I'll give you the quick answer. No, I shouldn't be in counter trend mode because look where I am. Bearish pin bar, taking out the low of the pin bar. This thing's bearish. I should not be in counter trend mode long. I should be now thinking short. And you could argue and say, well, why weren't you thinking short earlier? I explained why. But this type of price action that you see here, this is what like you could have anticipated at the next resistance level as well. Now, eventually it's stuck here, right? Now, look, we're seeing the reaction. Too bad I'm not short. I would like to go short, but am I going to short this thing right now? No. I want to wait for a signal. So you wait. Now, at the same time, if we pull back into this area right here, because again, keep in mind, I'm on a 15-second chart on this chart here. I'm on a 15-second. This is going to be a support on a 15-second chart. Does that make sense to you? This is a 30-minute chart that I'm pointing to. On a 15-second chart, that's going to be support. So that's a place where I could be in counter trend mode for longs. That may produce a trade of a couple of 100 points, maybe. That's an aggressive long, but that's a support. Do you see how I adjusted? Right? I was all about the breakout. The market showed me otherwise. I never took any trades. I'm now looking for shorts because we have all this potential to reach this support level here. And this support level is where, if I'm going to look for longs, this is where I should look for longs. not up here after a bearish pin bar on the 30-minute. So I don't have to trade the 30-minute to do that. My 15-second is going to give me the confirmation. So think of the smaller time frame, like the 15-second in this case, as a way to synchronize with the bigger picture while keeping your risk minimized. Does that make sense? Savi has a question here. For Stian, one signal generated is not yet monitoring candles anymore, right? Just when profit or loss. I don't understand that question. Just when profit or loss. Right. Yeah. I can answer that question, Savi. I mean, yeah, if you are in a signal, right, don't worry about the candlesticks. You could use them if you want to. If you're advanced and you're like, okay, I'm going to use them for a heads up. That's up to you, but you don't have to, because the Trade Scanner Pro is doing that job for you. It's at that point, it's up to the it is up to the stop loss and take profit. The trade is really out of your hands, or at least it should be, or the trailing stop, right? That's what you're using, and you're going to respect those orders. But if you see a troublesome candlestick, like, let's say there was a signal here, right, and I was long, and I got this bearish pin bar, why should I hold to the stop? If I'm long, why am I going to hold that to the stop? I see a bearish pin bar. I shouldn't be in it. I was expecting the breakout. If it's not giving me the breakout, why stay in it? Right? So that's where you could get ahead of the Trade Scanner Pro. But people may have a hard time with that. That requires some experience. So if you don't have experience, you can just rely on the suggestions that the Trade Scanner Pro gives you. At least it limits your risk and gives you a place to take profit. But if you see a problem, conflicting signal, like a bearish pin bar, the Trade Scanner Pro is not going to tell you that there's a bearish pin bar in your face. It's not going to tell you that. Okay? We're working, at some point we'll have some functionality like that, but right now we don't have that. Okay, anyway, does that make sense? So look at this price action, right? It's trying to hold here, right, on my 30-minute. I'm getting a potential lower high here. I'm not getting any signals on my 15-second chart. So I may have to do something really wild here and go to a 5-second chart. Again, I don't suggest this for beginners. Oh, look. So the 5-second chart gave us some shorts. Gave us a short over here. And there's another short over here that looks like, I don't know what happened there. It looks like it got stopped out. Keep in mind, a 5-second chart, the risk is going to be really tight, and so is the reward. Okay? What was this trade worth over here on this 5-second chart if you held it and managed to get out near the bottom? 91 points. Not bad for a 5-second chart. Okay? So now look, this thing is trying to go further. This thing is more likely to give a signal, but it's going to be very tight. Again, I don't recommend this for beginners, but I just want to show action here, right? All right, you guys clear on that? I could add a setting so that every new trade will show the previous automatically gets removed from the chart. That when you have a trade you want to follow, you can activate the setting. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, what's going on over here? Is this a signal? What is this? It gave a signal and or maybe the 5-second may be too tight for this. Or maybe because I was in replay mode. Let's see here. Let me just push this forward here real quick. I think it's because I was in replay mode. All right, as you can see, on a 5-second chart, it's going to be a lot less reliable. All right, that's why I don't encourage this. Let's go back to the 15-second. But you get the idea. Here's the 15-second look. Gave some heads up over here, giving more heads up. This means a signal is likely to appear soon. That's the 15-second chart. Let's go to a 1-minute chart. Anything there? The 1-minute chart is giving us a long signal. That's a 1-minute chart. But like I just finished saying, that 1-minute signal is going to be very iffy because we got a bearish pin bar on the 30-minute right behind it, right? So got to be very careful with that. Now I'm fighting the pin bar, and there's a resistance in this area here. So my 1-minute is bullish, still in bullish mode. I'd want to switch that to counter trend because I'm interested in short signals, right, in this area because of that pin bar, because of the pin bar. That takes the signal away. See that? Because now I'm in counter trend mode. And so why are you going to be in counter trend mode again? Because look, and that bearish candle they reacted to it. So right, it's working its way up right now, but this is more likely. I'd be more willing to short this now, because if this was going to stay strong, we should have closed strong. See what I mean? So don't get confused. I see a lot of people, they sign up and they cancel right away because they're getting confused by this. This is why I'm doing this stream. This is why I demonstrate this, so that you get more clarity, right? I want you to understand why I avoid the long in this situation, and I'm looking for the short simply because this tells me to do that on the 30-minute. If you get focused on this 1 minute and you're like, oh yeah, and you react to what you see, you're going to have nothing but problems. Very important point. Okay. The Trade Scanner Pro is a confirmation tool, but you have to know what you're confirming. If you take a signal for the sake of taking a signal, you're going to have very random results and you're not going to be happy. So please make every effort to use the tool correctly, and you will see, I believe your chances of a positive outcome would be greater, right? A fraud would tell you, oh, it's magic and you're going to make millions of dollars. I'm not a fraud. All right, you guys. Okay, so I've been at this an hour. I can't stay extra today. I'd like to. I would like to have a signal to demonstrate, but I think I illustrated enough here. Do you guys have any questions? I was hoping to get a short signal so I could show you, the short signal. I'm in counter trend mode, so you can understand the rationale. That's why I like working on these smaller time frames, because how things change quickly, I can explain the rationale and why I'm looking for what I'm looking for. Again, the trade begins with the idea based on the context. Okay. That's where it begins. I'm not reacting to what I see. I'm prepared because of what this tells me. And this changed, so I adjust. Am I reacting? No, I'm adjusting. Reacting means I'm taking a trade, right? I'm not taking any trades. I'm adjusting my mindset so that I can align with a signal that makes sense with the bigger picture. I'm trying to synchronize with the bigger picture. And sometimes when it gets noisy like this, that can be a little harder. See, look at this. I bet you if I go to a smaller time frame, I'll get that short. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Now, Steen, how come this thing is not giving me an open signal? That should be an open signal right there. Am I in? Oh, maybe this is why. Because I was in replay mode. Gotta make sure that's off. Okay, but you guys get the idea. Okay, any questions? Any other questions? Any questions before I wrap this up here? So, I never got a chance to show you the website real quick. So if you want to sign up for Trade Scanner Pro, here's the website. In fact, I'll put the link in the channel here. The link is also in the description. Okay, so it's you can go to this link. I believe I typed that in correctly. No, that's wrong. Hold on, let me type that in again. This one should be right. Okay. So you go to this link. Is that right? TSCPRO. Yes. And that will take you to this page here. I'll make this page bigger here so you don't have to see my big head again. All right. And it takes you here. You simply scroll through the page. It tells you how it works. Tells you a little bit about me. It takes you over here. And you could sign up for your 14-day free trial. All right. So it's for a year. It's $22.50 a month. You're saving 25%. You simply click here. Okay, it takes you to the sign up form, and you can then fill in the form here. Make sure you put your TradingView username in this field. That's very important, because if you don't, then we can't send you an invite. The invite typically takes 30 minutes to 1 hour to receive. So please be patient and you will receive that invite. If it takes more than an hour and then you want to be impatient and send me 10 million emails, okay, but give it at least an hour. Now, this you can also do monthly. It's $30 a month. Now, these prices, the $30 a month is going to go higher. So if you want to lock it in now. It will go higher when we start producing overlays, right? When we have the overlays and stuff like that, this tool is going to be very valuable. It's very valuable now. I should be getting double what I'm asking for it now. So if you want to lock in that price, this is your chance, because when I change the price, I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear any excuses. You have months to do this, months and months, and you have months. I've been at this price for 4 months. So you got plenty of time. Okay. Anyway. So that's how you sign up for the Trade Scanner Pro. Okay. Stian says here, it is too tight. Yeah, it is too tight. I should probably be higher. But again, I was just showing you for demonstration purposes. Man, that would have been a nice short. Yeah, I'm not on the, I have to update this thing. But notice what's happening. I'm showing you the 30-minute here because notice what's happening, right? We had the pin bar, and the pin bar says watch for shorts. That's what the pin bar says off of the resistance level, right? And now look, this candle is bearish. So that's how you align or synchronize with the bigger picture without reacting to the smaller picture, right? I mean, there was like that long was developing over here, and you could have been like, oh, I'm going long. Remember there was a long signal or whatever? We want the short signals. Make sense? Okay. All right. So I showed you how to sign up for the Trade Scanner Pro. I hope you guys take some time to check it out. You have 14 days for free. And after that, you get billed. You can cancel anytime. All right. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me in the community. You can also send me a message on TradingView, or you can send me an email at markbmarkets.com. Now, one thing real quick before I sign out, watch out for frauds, please. Watch out for scammers. If you get a message from me and I'm asking you for money or something, or I send you to some weird website that's not the Trade Scanner Pro website that I just showed you, it's a fraud. Block that person, report that person. Also, if you get a message like that from Stian or from Alex, those are also scammers, because Stian or Alex would not send you a message like that and ask you for money. They usually don't initiate messages. But if you ask us a message, if you initiate a message with us, we will answer. Okay. So I just want to make that clear, because we still have to deal with that nonsense. So please don't be scammed. If someone, like I said, again, if someone like that reaches out to you and they send you a weird link or whatever, block the person, report the person, and put it in the channel. We have a channel for that, so that other people are aware that, you know, scammers are running around. All right, everyone. So again, do I see any other questions here? Anything? I don't see any other questions. So make sure you go to the website there. Okay, wait, real quick. Look, it's a long signal, right? Again, but I'm on a 15-second here. Long signal. That is tight. Look how tight that is. Do I even have the trailing stop on? I do have it on. Okay, that's really tight. I'm not taking this. I just finished explaining why. Right? But I'm getting that long because I'm in counter trend mode. So you have to turn that off when you're looking for trend mode. In trend mode here, the trend changed to bearish. Always be aware of that. Always be aware. See what I mean with this? Like, that's why you can't get fooled by that. Always be aware of your trend on the time frame that you're working on. 15-minute, again, is very dramatic. So, you know, I don't recommend this. Beginners should be working with 15-minute charts, not 15-second charts. All right. Okay, you guys, I know I'm like jumping around here. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And again, thank you for watching.